Because it's not just looking at the page. It's what we know already. We are not looking at every word. Okay? Yeah? So, for example, ready? Tell me the next word after the word I say. Ready?
Yes.
Interested. What's the next word? In. Good. At. Because of. Right. You know this, don't you? Yeah. You don't need to read it. Can I say the Camilla? Camilla is Camilla is Camilla, isn't it? It's not the Camilla. It's Camilla 99.99% of the time. Yeah? So what we do is, when we look at words, we don't need to read every word because we know what's coming next. And we know that after the, we cannot have a second the. And so we don't see it. We don't read it. We read what we know is right, even though it's wrong. Yes? For that to happen, if you're looking at very difficult words, are you filming me? Yeah. I'm afraid that's going to cost you 200 taka. When we signed our contract, they said nothing about filming.
Yeah.
I'm joking. If you want. So, what you can't see is you can't see his face. Like,
He took his stuff.
he's looking at me like, are you filming me? Yes. He's like, oh no. So, reading is not just looking.
Yeah.
Reading is a combination of sight and brain. And the brain is telling the eyes that what it's just read is wrong. And therefore we don't know that we've read it. Right? You got it?
Mr. Mark, I want to add one thing, if you kindly allow me. That simply we do two kinds of reading, top-down process and bottom-up process. Is it? And
Yes.
What you were saying is top-down process, not reading word by word, line by line.
Well, that's my point,
Right.
Rashid. Because if you're reading Jane Austen and she has words like cacophony, yes, superfluous and mellifluous, then you are reading word by word because it's so difficult. Yeah? And you're not therefore understanding the whole sentence. A boy looks after me at home. His name is Anis. And he has been with me 5 years. He never went to school. He could not write Anis in Bangla. Yeah? He did not know. Yeah? He could not do. Right? Now he's going to do SSC, English version. Right? But one of the big things about him is that he lives with me and I see what his teachers give him, and they're giving him reading texts which are too difficult. And the reason they're doing that is because they're going to ask him questions. They're going to say, look at the reading, what does, look at number 3, what does mellifluous in line 37 mean? A, B, C, D. Multiple choice, he's got to choose. They're going to say, yeah, what does them in line 9 refer to? Yeah? Etc., etc., etc. Or they're going to say, underline all the examples of the passive voice in the second paragraph. Yeah? And my argument is that is not a reading lesson. That is a grammar or a vocabulary lesson. But that is not about reading. Okay? And do you remember I started off by saying to you, yeah, when you're at school they make you read Shakespeare, yeah? It's really difficult for me to understand Shakespeare, yeah? Often I have to have a modern translation, or I have to look at these 400-year-old words to find out what they mean. Yeah? Yeah? But, and I would like to say now that I like classic literature. I do read Jane Austen and Charles Dickens, not D.H. Lawrence, but Ernest Hemingway. I read them for pleasure. Yeah? I am an academic. I like this stuff. But I didn't like it when I was 20. Sometimes now I read Charles Dickens and he makes me laugh out loud in a room on my own. Yeah? But he didn't make me laugh 40 years ago. I found nothing funny and nothing very interesting in Dickens. But times change, personalities change. Yeah? But if you're reading to learn English, to improve your English, it makes no difference if you read John Steinbeck, Ernest Hemingway, George Orwell. Yeah? These are all very famous, modern, great American and British writers. Or you have just been going to become very famous. Okay. Good. It's not going to be your pleasure in about 5 minutes when you understand what I'm doing. Do you like love stories? Hands up if you like love stories. Yes, 1, 2. Yeah, and what we're going to get here is 70% girls, 30% boys, yeah? Do you like stories about the mafia? Yes? Yeah, and now we've got more boys. You like everything, yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Do you like stories about killing and war and superheroes? Yes? Yeah, you like everything too. So, I'm going to tell you a love story, right? If anyone, I'm going to use my ex-wife's name, Aisha. If there is anyone called Aisha here in the hall, I would like to say sorry before I start. Yes? Right? There was a girl called Aisha, yeah? And she lived in a really, really poor village. Very often they did not have any electricity. And she had 5 brothers and sisters. Her father used to work in somebody else's fields. It was really, really difficult for them, yeah, to get enough money to eat, and like clothes, yeah, the mother always had to mend them and repair them. You know, drinking a Coca-Cola, it was like birthday treat. Okay, but Aisha, she wanted to become a nurse, and she worked really, really hard at school. And her father, seeing this, he said, look, he spoke to his wife, and he said, I don't know what we've got to do. He said, but we've got to stop eating chicken, yeah? And we've got to eat cheaper vegetables, and we can't buy any fruit, because we've got to pay for Aisha to continue to go to school. And Aisha only had sandals, and the school, yeah, was 4 kilometers away. And she walked to school in the morning, and she walked back after school at night. She walked back when it was raining, she walked back in the hot season. And every night, often with no electricity, with a candle, she would sit and do her homework. And she, yeah, when she got intermediate, she was the top of her class. And she got into nursing college, yeah, and by doing a part-time job and studying and studying and studying, again she finished and she came top of her class. And this meant she could get a job in an expensive clinic in Baridara, yeah. And she could earn quite good money, and she could send that money back to her father and her younger brothers and sisters in her village.
I read Aisha's name in Chekhov's story. To whom shall I tell my grief? Aisha is a official girl.
That, unfortunately, as you're about to find out, is a different story than this one.
Chekhov.
Because this story is about Aisha in the nursing home. And one day, Aisha, yeah, she was in reception, and a handsome young doctor came in. Can you guess his name? It was Shubrota. Shubrota. Dr. Shubrota. And Aisha, I told you. I gave you a warning. And yes, Aisha looked at him, and she was like, he was the best looking boy. Stand up, I mean, look at everyone. The best looking boy. Aisha, yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Unfortunately, you wait and see what happens, okay, Shubrota? Yes. What happened was, yeah, and she could tell that Shubrota's clothes were very expensive. He spoke English really, really well, and she understood. Yeah, this boy, he was born and brought up in Gulshan, Banani, yeah? Yeah, he goes on holiday to Thailand and to America. Maybe he did his degree in medicine in London, yeah? But after that day, whenever she saw Dr. Shubrota, Aisha would. And then one day, Dr. Shubrota, he noticed Aisha looking at him, and he smiled at her. And Aisha was like, She was so shy, she didn't know what to do, yeah? But slowly, yeah, Aisha and Shubroto became friends. And sometimes in the canteen in the clinic, they would have a cup of tea together, yeah, and they talked about their lives. And one day, Aisha, she was so tired, she'd done a double shift because her friend was sick. She was walking out of the clinic and she was just going to cross the road to go to her room for some sleep. And she heard, Aisha! And she looked around and there was Shubroto smiling at her and waving. And she smiled back at Shubroto and waved. And a great big lorry came and it killed her. And Shubroto was so upset because in his heart he had romantic feelings for Aisha. Yes, Shubroto? Yes. There you are. Never trust Shubroto. He will say anything. Yes? Yes. And Shubroto, he wrote a poem about Aisha. Do you want to hear the poem?
Yes.
You ready? Little Aisha, in the street, great big lorry, keema meat. You know keema?
Yeah.
Bangla word? So, now, that story was rubbish, wasn't it? And you know sometimes in Reader's Digest, yeah, or in some cheap Hindi film, something like that happens, yeah? And it's absolute rubbish. Doctor falls in love with nurse. Yes? Yeah, the boy saves the girl, yeah, from the criminals in her area. And he fights them. And he's this big. And they're built like that. But of course this one, he wins. Yeah? You know those rubbish? So, but George Orwell, he was one of the most famous British writers of the 20th century. Who will help you more to improve your English? Dr. Shubroto and Aisha? That story? Or George Orwell? What do you think? Of course, George Orwell. But unfortunately, it's not true. The quality of what you read makes no difference to language improvement.